Jeremy Coleman. I'm 38. I'm from Stockport, Ohio, and I got 35 months sobriety.
Fabulous. So thanks for coming out and joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time. If you could start out by sharing a bit about your early childhood.
I would like to say, I always say a lot of times for some reason when I was 12, my father ended up leaving, so that was a big impact. Up to that point, there was a lot of trauma in my childhood. There was. I can sit here and try to act like there wasn't, but there was physical abuse, drinking and drug abuse, and everything that comes with that type of lifestyle as a kid growing up. And like I said, my father left when I was 12, so that was a big impact on me as a kid. So.
Absolutely. So how was school and friendships impacted by that?
I was always in trouble at school. I was didn't like to go to school a lot. Was an angry kid. They tried to put me on medicine. I don't know what it was, ADHD medicine, or at that time. I'm really glad my parents wouldn't let them. I don't think I needed it because I don't need it today. But at the time, I was acting out. Like I said, then it was just sort of the lifestyle, just partying as a kid. It wasn't. I never thought I had a problem. So I mean, a very young age, very young.
And did you start to experience any consequences?
Well, yet again, the trouble I was in school, and then I quit the sports around that age because I was in sports and pretty active, trying to be a good kid or this and that. But real easily, once I started drinking and smoking on the weekends, I quit the sports. I quit this. I was in juvenile as a kid. I went to Scared Straight program as a juvenile. The same prison I ended up in years later. I went, Scared Straight. Probation my whole juvenile childhood.
Gotcha. And at any point did anybody offer you any type of counseling, any coping skills that made any type of an impact? Or
well, when I was in school, they did try to get me to talk to a counselor a little bit. I never really remember doing much of it or really helping much, to be honest with you. But they was trying, because like I said, I was acting out at a young age, so I feel like they was trying to maybe figure it out or try to help me maybe. But back then there was one counselor for a whole school, and I was one of the badder kids, so they was trying to help, I think, but I never got nothing or got much from none of it, to be honest.
Gotcha. And how did your disease progress then?
Well, like I said, I'd like to think it was all just fun and blending in with people, socially, or however you want to call it, drinking, smoking. But it wasn't very long, and it was several years later when I realized I actually had a problem. I just thought that was life and partying as a kid. But I think there was a lot of people that ended up stopping years later, and I never could stop. My disease or my problems got worse, where a lot of people could stop and had a good job and had this, and I went even farther and graduated into other drugs, narcotics, heroin, fentanyl, and everything else.
And how were your relationships affected?
Relationships with family and stuff, terrible. I mean, I was a poor son, I was a poor brother. Later on, I was a poor father because of my choices. I would run and hide from my family. I never wanted to be there. I was embarrassed. I was an embarrassment to them, I felt like, so I didn't want to be. And this was years later it progressed to that, because there was some points in my life where I was able to control my addiction. I thought I had a job and was able to maintain a little bit, where I felt like, because I did have the job and I did have the decent vehicle in the house, and I felt like I was doing. But it progressed in where I was completely down and out to nothing, and like I said, I was embarrassed to be around my family, and sure they was embarrassed to,
And did people, those people that loved you and cared about you, did they ever say, hey, why don't you try and get some help, or why don't you try detox, that type of stuff? And did you?
Yeah, I mean, there's points and times, but when I was in my mess, I could never hear it. Like, I didn't never think there was a way out, or I didn't think that I really had that big of a problem at that point. My sister, she was always like, oh, you just need to stop. And they didn't understand the background, or they didn't understand that it wasn't, at that point, it wasn't that easy just to stop. I would like to have stopped you know, when I had my kids or when this happened, I would always try to quit, and I'd never go back. And every time I'd wake up in jail, the same thing, you know, oh, I'm never going to do it again. And the madness of it, every time you get out, you're right back to it. So I feel like they tried to speak life into me throughout it all, and they did stick by my side, you know, like really, and I thank God for that today. You know, so.
And then what happened that you decided, I got to do something different? Or did somebody say, you have to do something different?
Well, multiple stints in prison and jail, and to be all the way honest, my probation officer sort of forced her hand. I started going to prison at a young age, 23 I think, then went back when I was 25 or 20 something. But they always sent me straight to prison. I never got a chance. They didn't offer me help the first time, which was all due to my drug addiction. They sent me straight every time. Well, the last time I was around 35, that's when I went to treatment. And the PO sort of forced her hand. She knew I was slipping up and struggling, and she basically tricked me. I went to see her one day. She threw a GPS on my leg and told me she had a detox bed open, and there I was. I had to go. And so basically the PO forced her hand. I thank God for it. I've reached out and told her, like, I appreciate it, like she was just doing her job. But you know what I mean, I thank God that she did that. At the time I was mad and I was resentful towards her, and but even with that, I went to detox, and I seen some guys at some meetings, and guys I've been locked up with, and they was like, I love you, bro, and they had this something about them. I'm like, you love me? We've been in prison together. And they was in this program called New Hope Creations. It's a faith-based treatment facility, and it changed my life, and that's where I end up going. That's where I'm getting at, is when the PO made me go to detox, and I was like trying to get a bed at this place that I've been hearing about, and I had a little bit of familiar with, but it's in my hometown, and a lot of people was like, hey, you need to go somewhere else. And like I said, there was something I seen in these guys that changed, and so I ended up, when I went to detox, I ended up leaving, and I found myself right back into the mix. Knew that when I left out of there, I had a GPS on my leg, and I knew the probation officer said if I leave that she's going to put a warrant out. I'm going to go back to prison, and I couldn't change at this time still. And I remember I was in a trap trailer, and like real easy I could have went this way or that way, and I went ahead and I stuck through. And I feel like at that time, like you know, it was a dark place, to be honest, and I ended up making a step, going to New Hope. And it changed my life, like, severely. Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're on probation. You're still in pretty early stages of recovery. What were the things that you started to do to make part of your routine that, you know, kept you? Because, you know, you have those spiritual awakenings, and you feel good and whatnot, and then you have that it's daily life. So it's kind of a bit of a grind sometimes. So what are the things that you did to be able to keep that spiritual experience carrying you through to, you know, to where you are today?
Well, you know, a lot of the things that I did in there daily, like we would take time and read devotions, or in the morning, like have a morning process where we got to do things. Like I carried a lot of that stuff out with me. I continued some meetings. That was a big part of it. But really today, you know, it's like about, you know, I do a lot of praying. I read my Bible. And it's hard, like you said, you know, it can be real hard to make time to do this and that, but I stay around the community, the recovery community. I feel like that's really important because I get to see people all the time around me, like, slipping up, like the struggle's real out there, like, you know, there's always people falling back, so that's a constant reminder for me, you know, of the things that I shouldn't do. And I feel like it's being surrounded by people like that, to be honest. And being honest, that's one of my biggest things. Like, I got a few close people that I can call anytime and tell them what I'm struggling with, and try not to keep the stuff bottled up inside of me and talk about it. And we got problems. Life's still going to happen, you know what I mean? Like, but today, you know, we can make a decision, or we got a choice to do something different, you know? So
yeah. So you shared that you know, your family stuck by you, and you have some children. How did you repair those relationships? to be able to be a a trusted son, a trusted dad?
Well, I feel like, and it's sort of sad. My sister, she's 6 years older than me, but she just now knows her brother. Like after this 3 years, she's like, you're a really good guy, and like she's told me and stuff. And I felt like I'm like, dang, my sister, all these years, and she didn't even really know me. Like we lived together as kids, and grew up together, sort of, and she didn't even know who I was as a person. And that was sort of made me feel sad, but I was glad in the same aspect because she was giving me props, but telling me, So I feel like just being around and being present, they can see my walk, they can see something's changed in me. Some of them ain't believers, but yet they can look at me and they know something's changed. I mean, there ain't no denying it. So the same thing with my kids, and I used to pray about them things, like pray for my kids' relationships. My 17-year-old daughter, today she lives with me. She can live with her mom, and she stays at my house a lot. Like, and that's a good feeling, like, to be honest, because I was never there for them. Same thing with my son, and so I feel like just trying to be a positive person of influence in her life, and trying to be a type of man that I would want her to be with, and my family and the person, what I want somebody to do to me, I do to people, and I feel like people see that. Family, my friends, people see that, and so I feel like they've been men in themselves, you know what I mean? Like I said, I'm thankful for my family. They've always been supportive, and I'm glad that I can be a change and that they can see it, and that they can, feels good when you got somebody telling you, you know what I mean, or you're hearing it through somebody else, dang, such and such said you're doing a good job, or you know what I mean, it makes you feel good.
So you had, various jobs in active addiction. What do you do today for employment, and how has your recovery helped, employment prospects?
Well, when I went to work as a subcontractor when I was like 16, I quit school then. I'm in the flooring business. I'm a flooring installer. Like I said, I've been a sub since then. And I've done it off and on throughout my been fired from a lot of places and did a lot of no shows and different things, but I'm pretty skilled at what I do. So with that being said, today I'm fortunate enough, and it's real weird how things work out, because people in my early stage, like I'm still in early recovery, but my first year or so, like I've had people speak things to me and sort of speak things over my life, and really see it happening, like a second chance type deal. So today I actually work all guys, not all guys, but almost all my guys. If you're not in recovery or got a couple felonies, you can't even hardly work with me. So I'm a subcontractor. I got 4 or 5 guys I normally employ. Most of them, probably 90% of them, is all out of New Hope Creations. I actually live beside them. The transition house is beside me. I pick them up daily, take them to and from. We pray. We start our day off with the gratitudes. We all say something we're grateful for. We pray our day in. I try to hold the guys a little bit of a standard. I don't like them cussing that much. I like to hold them I hold them accountable. You got to pass a drug test. So there's a lot of things, and in my past I did all that, but I did it in the wrong way. I was doing it by giving people drugs that worked for me and stuff. So he just flipped the script on everything, to be honest. So I'm grateful and thankful that I get to give these guys second chances, and it makes me feel good to see them getting out with nothing and see the change in them. And it's beneficial to me.
Absolutely.
Very beneficial.
There's this huge group, it seems, that has come together as part of High on Hope and the movement, and people from all different walks of life. How has that support of so many different people helped you?
Oh, High on Hope is a big part of my High on Hope, and the reach. But High on Hope, man, like it was something we did every Thursday when I was in treatment, and it's something, like I said, and that's something I still do outside of that. Like it's a big part of my recovery life today. I think seeing other people that could do it, because like I said, there was a point where I was at where I never thought, like I didn't even know people could change. Like I thought that was our lifestyle. I thought that's what we did. And to be able to see other people, like there was a point where I seen somebody that had a year or two and think I ain't never gonna be able to get to that, but you can get to it. You know what I mean? And there is. So it was a big part. It absolutely was. Hearing other people's testimonies, other people's stories, um, you know what other people did, and you know, if it works for somebody else, a lot of times it can work for us, you know.
What dreams do you have for the future?
Well, you know, I guess we can say the American dream: the house, the picket fence. You know, I got my kids in my life, and I got my own place. I'd like to be a little more successful in my business, and try to grow and helping more people in recovery. Um, but you know, really, life, just life, living life. You know, I don't know how to live life. I'm still working on that, to be honest with you. I'm still trying to get new hobbies and do new things. Some people might think that's, you know, sounds weird, but I really don't know how to live what a lot of people call normal, and it's something I'm working on. So I guess living a normal life, you know, what we call normal anyhow, you know what I mean?
Right.
A good member of society, or, you know.
So you've built this life that you seem to have a sense of peace. You have a purpose. You're really doing it. What are the things that like sometimes catch you that you stumble a little bit, and how do you work through those?
Like I said before, I feel like a lot of time it's being honest. I always have somebody around if I'm struggling with something. I talk about it. You know, and I still do things daily, you know, that I have to do. I feel like, for me personally, you know, whether it's praying or reading, I feel like that's a big part of it. And wherever I fall short, just admit my flaws, you know, like that's a big part. And having other people that holds me accountable and holds me to a standard. You know, I hold guys to a standard, and that's why I got to make sure I'm right on a level so I can fill their cup up, because I'm steadily pouring my cup out on people. So that's something for me that I got to do, you know. And I feel like having good people around to keep me sharp and keep me on my game is a big help.
So you talked about gratitude. What are the 3 things that you are most grateful for today?
Today? Well, I mean, sobriety's number 1. Well, actually, I mean, to be honest, it should probably be God, sobriety, friends, family, and it really should be God, family, and then friends. And because with that, everything else comes. I mean, life today, you know, I got a good job, I got a good career, I got a good, you know, I got my own house, I got my kids back in my life. All the things I never thought was possible, like I got it now, and there's things that I still want to do, but like God should be really grateful, you know. And that's something, like I said, we do every day. What I try to do every day is a little gratitude list, and sometimes you got to think about stuff, but there's really a lot, you know. I come home and my water was shut off because of something, and I'm like, you know, how grateful we should be for the little things, you know what I mean? So, but you never know, so yeah.
Absolutely. Being able to celebrate every day for what we get. Well, thank you so much for taking time and being able to share your story. It's such an amazing story of redemption, and being able to really have this, like I said, you have this sense of peace about you, and really this, you know, this love that's just kind of oozing for the world. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.